Logan is the 90th film in the X-Men franchise and is the third standalone Wolverine movie out of that entire franchise. It is directed for the second time in the series by James Mangold and stars for the final time Hugh Jackman. So, despite the huge expectations for this movie, I still wasn't 100% convinced. I fucking hate the Wolverine, the movie that is, not the character. I think that's one of the worst superhero movies. I, couldn't get through it. It was boring. I just hate them. I hate it more than I hate Origins. And that's saying something, because Origins sucks. So, and James Mangold directed that, so I was concerned about this movie. I'm going to get this out of the way. But now I understand why the Wolverine was bad, and this movie is excellent. And it's one thing, really. It's the R rating. And say what you will, whether, your kids could go see it or not, and that didn't stop people in our theater. There were plenty of little kids. It was really bad. But this gets rid of the restrictions completely, which is something we needed to really see the character of Wolverine shine through. And I don't think we all, as non-comic book fans and just film fans in general, I don't think that's something we understood until seeing Logan. This is the Wolverine movie that we have needed and we have wanted without knowing it since 2000. Now, I haven't been around since then, but it doesn't matter. The restrictions taken off this movie gives the director and it gives the writers and it gives the actors freedom to do what they believe is necessary to not only progress the franchise as a whole, but to progress the character of Logan and just the film itself. And that's what this movie does so well. It acts on its own. It's not just an entry into this series. This is an R-rated standalone film. That's what this thing is. That's why Origins... That's a large part of why Origins doesn't work, is it tries to incorporate so much other dumb shit with the franchise. It's not focused on being its own movie. It's not focused on being a Wolverine movie. If it was really focused on that, it would have been rated R. So I think that this thing is able to stand on its own, and that's part of what makes it such a great movie. The restrictions are taken off of this thing. There's a sequence in this movie involving a family that I was so fucking taken aback by. Something I would never expect to see in a superhero movie, ever. And they do it, and it seems like without even thinking twice about it. It's fucking crazy. It's something you don't see coming, and you know they wouldn't have been able to do under the restriction of a PG-13 rating. So I'm very glad they put that R rating onto here. It's not just there for no reason. It's there for a purpose. It helps the film. It drives it up to that level of excellence, and I think that's what people are really missing from just throwing on the R rating. I think people are just going, oh, Deadpool was successful, so they said fuck it. No, it genuinely had an impact. The performances by everybody are phenomenal. Nobody misses a beat in this movie. Hugh Jackman brings his best performance as Wolverine. Same goes for Patrick Stewart. This is his best performance as Professor X. The girl, Daphne Keane, she has a hell of a future. She is fantastic in this movie. She holds her own against the acting of Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. And then you get people we haven't seen in the X-Men movies before, like Boyd Holbrook and Stephen Merchant. And both of them do fantastic jobs as their characters. They completely meld into them. Except for the voice, I never saw Stephen Merchant in this role, ever. He does a phenomenal job just filling the shoes of this character, which is interesting because we saw the character in a different fashion in Apocalypse. Then Christ, they decided to change it. And then Boyd Holbrook is this intimidating guy. He's not over the top. He's not crazy, because we have now, in this movie, a down-to-earth Logan. So we need a down-to-earth villain, and that's what Boyd Holbrook brings to this movie. I think he does a fantastic job. Like I said, I don't think any performance in this movie misses a beat. They're all very human, despite the fact that not every character is 100% human. That's what the movie does so well. That's why, deep down, underneath all of the action, which I'll get to in a little bit, this movie is really a character study, and not just of Logan, of everyone, of Professor X, of some past events of his that We don't know until this movie. Even the girl, we find out so much about each of these characters. It ends up being a movie about developing all of them because there is a clear arc with each of these characters from the beginning of the film to the end of each of their stories. And I think that's a very important aspect of this film that some people might even overlook. Some superhero fans or simple comic book fans might not even see the development of characters. And I don't mean that as in like they can't see that kind of stuff. This is something that could go over the heads of just anybody watching this movie. And I think with just that little extra bit of focus, you'll notice that. You'll notice how Hugh Jackman changes. You'll notice how Patrick Stewart changes. You'll notice how Daphne Keane changes. Because each of them have development, and they don't just come out of nowhere. There are clear events and clear reasonings behind what happens to these characters and how they change through the story. There is support behind everything that happens in this movie. Nothing happens for no reason. That's the genius of the screenplay of this movie. And while the dialogue manages to be gritty and down to earth, at the same time bringing you that Wolverine dialogue that you've come to love, that witty, snarky sense of humor, because there are a fair bit of darkly comical lines throughout this movie. The screenplay does that as well as the character development extremely well. Kudos to the screenwriters. There are a lot of screenwriters on this movie too, and I was a little worried about the writing team. They did a very good job. They knew what they were working with, and they were able to deliver. Like I said about the action, I think the action almost coincides with the direction of the movie. James Mangold did a great job, and I've known James Mangold is a good director, even though the Wolverine was trash. He did something like, in terms of an action movie, I'll talk about 3:10 to Yuma, which has very well directed action sequences. It's probably one of the remakes, the only remakes I enjoyed. Be up there with like Ocean's 11 and The Departed in terms of the best remakes, even though I have a Departed poster right there. It's my favorite movie. I think that he's a very good director, and this movie really showcased that. The action scenes in this movie are fucking brutal. They're visceral. There are so many words to describe it that just make you not want to take your kids to go see this movie. You see the trailer and you go, wow, this is going to be freaking terrifying. Oh yeah, no, from the beginning, from the very opening of this goddamn movie, you know that it's gonna be fucking brutal. And it is the entire time, and it's always badass, because the kind of violence that we get in this movie is matched with the kind of character that we want to see portraying this kind of violence. It matches and it meshes so well that the action doesn't just come out of nowhere and you're not sitting there going, that's so unrealistic and that's so weird and that's so gross and that's so violent. You're sitting there going, this character would absolutely be going this far over the top and would absolutely be chopping people's limbs off with his claws. That's just the kind of character we come to notice Logan as, and like I said, without the restriction, we're able to see that at its utter core. We're able to see it at its top notch. It's at 11. That's a reference for those of you that might get it. I don't know how many of you will get that, but, there it is. The action, it's some of the best action we've seen, not just in an X-Men movie or a superhero movie. It's some of the best action I think I've seen in a long fucking time. The tension of it, the thrills of it, like even from the car chases to the forest scene to just the overall beating the shit out of people or the gunfights. There are plenty of action scenes in this movie for your average action lover, mixed with the actual well-written dialogue and character development. This movie works so well as an action drama. Even the score in this movie is great. It's just this darker, grittier, more realistic score, and it helps the whole vibe of the movie. It really helps to drive it home. They did a great job with that. The only issue I could point to that I would have with this movie, there's one, and it's some pacing throughout. I think that there are times where the movie is like way up here and it's like 100% got my attention. After a huge action scene, I'm really down with it, and instead of like having a progressive decline back into the drama, which would work really well, it just kind of boom goes like right into a scene like that, and you just kind of feel yourself hit by it, and it's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. I'm coming hot off a car chase. I wasn't ready for this dramatic moment. You gotta like bring me down a little bit. I think there were a couple of instances where the movie did that, and it felt a little weird. Just a little bit of pacing problems, but overall, this is a spectacular film. I recommend it to comic book lovers. I recommend it to average film goers. I recommend it to the action lover and the drama lover. I went and saw this fucking movie with someone I expected to absolutely hate it, and they fucking loved it. So I think that this movie really works for everyone, except for unless you have a really mature kid, like. When I say kid, if you're 15 or you're 14 or you're 13 and you can handle shit like this, go see it. I don't care. But if you're under 10, probably not the best idea. I just wouldn't do it. It's, it's not, yeah, just, I highly recommend going to see this movie. It is fantastic. Like I said, you don't have to see the Rex. I went and saw this movie in a huge party, and a lot of the people I went to see it with hadn't seen any of the X-Men movies, didn't know anything about the X-Men movies, and they still enjoyed it 100% the complete way throughout. They understood the entirety of the story. This movie doesn't rely on past material in order to make this movie great. It's just great on its own. Definitely check this one out, whether you've seen the other movies or not. I highly recommend this movie. So, what did you guys think? Have you seen Logan? Have you not seen Logan? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.